skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, everyone? I hope you're enjoying your Sunday evening. I know the hell I am. Welcome to Stateside Footy and the U.S. Men's National Team Watchalong Gold Cup 2025 as the U.S. Men's National Team take on Trinidad and Tobago. Listen, I got to be honest with you. This is an absolutely monster tournament for the U.S. Men's National Team after everything that's happened over the course of the last year. With Great Berhalter, dumping out the Copa America, being the first home nation to get grouped out of a tournament like that, and then of course his subsequent firing, Mauricio Pochettino coming in, and the lukewarm results from that, including this year's Nations League when the U.S. Men's National Team absolutely just decided not to show up against Panama and Canada. And now all of a sudden, as we go into the Gold Cup, they lose against Turkey, get absolutely humiliated against Switzerland. And now, let's be honest, right? The absolute, the morale of the U.S. Men's National Team fan base, I haven't seen it this low in quite some time. There's so much skepticism surrounding this team. And especially when you consider that some of this national team's biggest stars decided, nah, dog, I'm not going to participate in this one. And so what we have is a roster that looks like, let's be honest, an MLS All-Star team that has, sprinkles of some European players. But that being said, make no mistake, this is a massive tournament for the U.S. Men's National Team. They absolutely have to win this tournament just to get some momentum, man, get some forward momentum heading into the World Cup of 2026, because between now and the end, that end result, there's nothing else except for friendlies leading into it. And if you didn't think that this team wasn't motivated already, I would probably assume we're probably going to see the exact same results until we actually get to those warm-up matches heading out of World Cup to World Cup 2026. But that being said, it's interesting, right? Because when I saw the final result after the Nations League, I started thinking about it, right? Because the reality is a few things that I want to talk about before I get into the starting lineups tonight, because we have about 10 minutes until kick. The reality is there's no World Cup qualifying this cycle. The U.S. is automatically qualified, and there's absolutely nothing to fight for this cycle outside of the Copa America that happened last year, and we saw what happened. And then, of course, our Concacaf tournaments, the Nations League and the Gold Cup, which, no disrespect, I don't think there are certain players that actually rate the Gold Cup. And so as per they just elect not to show up. Now, the crazy thing about this though is that you hear guys like Clint Dempsey who basically say, "Hey, listen, man, it was my mentality that every tournament I'm going to make available. I'm going to be there." Now, when it comes to certain friendlies, fair enough, man, fair enough. Whether there's an injury or whether there's a knock or they just wanted to take a break, okay, fair. I can understand that. But when it came to the tournaments, whether it be Gold Cup, whether it be Copa America, whether it be World Cup, it's your duty as a U.S. player to represent your country in those tournaments and not necessarily the friendly. And so now we get to today where you see some of our biggest players that do show up in international windows for friendlies, but then you see them elect to take tournaments off. And it's actually a quite interesting dichotomy when it comes to today's players versus yesteryear. And I'm not going to get into the heart of some of these players. I'm not going to get into the want or the will. I think we understand those players that elected not to be here actually want to wear the crest. But that being said, I think maybe the priorities are a little askew. But that being said, it made me think, right? There is no World Cup qualifying. So from a standpoint of the players, they can sit back and relax a little bit, understanding that they're going to be there regardless. And so you don't just need, you don't necessarily need to bring your A game against Panama, who you've seen 20 times over the last 3 years. I get it, right? But that being said, that's our federation. That's our confederation. Concacaf is it. So regardless if it's Panama or Trinidad or Mexico or whatever the case may be, that is your confederation. And it just so happens that the Gold Cup is our championship. That is it. Fair enough. So I understand. Like I try to put myself in the player in the shoes of the player and just say, hey, do I really want to take a 16-hour plane ride from Europe to come to LA to play, Canada for the 30th time in 3 years? No, probably not. So, okay, fine. Then don't show up. You don't necessarily need to show up for the friendlies. Use those windows to evaluate the depth in your pool. But when it comes to tournaments, man, show up and wear the crest proudly. But I digress. But that being said, I also thought about a few things about the players of yesteryear versus the players of today. And back in the day, whether it be the 90s, 2000s, and even a little bit of the 2010s, the players needed the national team because not everybody was going to Europe, right? So they used the national team as a catapult to potentially get to Europe, right? They used it as a staging grounds, as a proving grounds to show European clubs, coaches, and agents that they can compete overseas. Whereas players today don't necessarily rate the national team because they've been there since they were 16 years old. They were given opportunities bypassing Major League Soccer as that stepping zone, and whether they were going to Dortmund, Juventus, wherever the case may be, they've already made their money now. They don't need the national team to necessarily springboard their career. It almost seems like it's an extracurricular in their schedule. And then you look at what other nations and how they rate their national team here in the United States. They don't talk about soccer outside of the soccer bubble. There is no hysteria regarding certain players not coming into the national team, not coming into this tournament. Where if this was Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, France, England, fans wouldn't put up with it. Like, what do you mean you're not showing up for this tournament? Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And they would get pushback. But here in the United States, outside of our soccer bubble, nobody cares. And I guess that just goes to show you exactly how far soccer's come, where it still needs to go. But I digress. I want to welcome in Tommy G, who says, Koizaka Warrior. Okay, cool. All right. So again, I'm about to get into the lineups real quick, and I want to thank everyone that are tuning in. The chat's going to be open, but make sure you hit your like and subscribe buttons because I personally, this channel is going to in a march to 1,000 subs. Once we hit that plateau, then I can actually start booking some really cool guests behind members only shows. I can do really cool giveaways with sponsors and all that good stuff. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. and make sure you share this as well too, because I got to let that algorithm do what algorithms do, man. So do your part, I'll do my part, and we're going to have ourselves a blast tonight. All right, let's tune into, let's go ahead and get to our starting lineups tonight. For Trinidad and Tobago, in net for them will be Phillip. Their back five is going to be Powder, Garcia, Jones, Batau, and Garcia. Their midfield four is going to be Fortune, Molino, Phillips, and Spicer, and up top will be Lee. For the U.S. men's national team, in net today is going to be Matt Freese, and I don't have a problem with it all. You bring a guy like Matt Freese in, who's actually played himself into a position where he can get this call up and get this cap. I'm happy to see him get the start tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see how he performs behind the back four of Freeman, who, by the way, man, I thought Freeman played pretty well against Turkey, and it was actually quite a pleasant surprise to see him play so well. The center back pairing is going to be Chris Richards and Tim Ream. And of course, Tim Ream's going to get played, which actually kind of bugs me a little bit because I thought that we would be seeing a different center back pairing for tonight, but I digress. So Tim Ream will be at the left back position. In the left wing back position will be Max Arfston, who is continuing to get some run out under Mauricio Pochettino, and I don't necessarily hate it. If you can't have Jedi Robinson, it's nice to see that they're at least trying to mold another left back ahead of the World Cup. And Arfston, say what you will, man, but he's progressing. The double pivot today will be Luca Della Torre and Sebastian Berhalter. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with Sebastian Berhalter running out. Tyler Adams is going to be out for a little bit. Now, granted, the foot injury isn't anything massive, but I'm not surprised to see him get the rest tonight against Trinidad and Tobago. The midfield three is going to be Malik Tillman at the 10. Jack McGlynn is going to be on the right side with his left foot, and Diego Luna will be on the left. And I would probably assume you're going to see some sort of drifting in centrally for Diego Luna from that left-hand spot, as Max Arfston is probably going to play forward here on the overlap. So I would probably assume that Malik Tillman is probably going to play a little higher, as Diego Luna will shade underneath a little bit more centrally, and up top is Patrick Aubameyang, who under Mauricio Pochettino has found the net a few times already, and it's going to be interesting. But as we know, when it comes to Mauricio Pochettino and that number 9 position, right now you would probably assume that it's going to be one of Flo Balogun or Ricardo Pepi. Pepi's still working his way back from the knee surgery, and I would probably assume that we're going to see Ricardo Pepi probably start the season with PSV, and then we'll probably get reintegrated back into the national team. And also Flo Balogun looks like he's 100% returned from his injury issues from last season, and now it's going to be a little bit of a decompressing summer for him as he works his way back into the fold, out there in Ligue 1. I would probably assume that Flo Balogun is going to play a huge central part of this national team. And the interesting thing for me is going to be, once all these pieces are going to be in place, how this team is going to perform as we move to the World Cup 2026, and whether or not they're going to start ramping themselves up as far as actually giving a shit as we get closer to the end result there. But that being said, in the context of this World Cup, and when you look at this roster, I still believe that this roster is good enough to win this tournament, and it needs to be in a position where they can take advantage of every single team that's in front of them, and not necessarily get too high, emotionally, and just go out there and handle your business and chip away and beat these teams and put themselves in a position where they can lift this Gold Cup. Because I tell you what, again, morale is pretty low among the fan base, and what will get this fan base riled up is lifting a trophy and making up for the debacle of the Nations League as we are getting started. And as we are very close to kick, the interesting thing, though, right, is what happens if they lose this tournament, right? What happens if they lose the tournament or they get knocked out early? I swear to God, man, there's going to be a revolt, man. It's unacceptable. If they lose it, or for whatever reason there's an injury or a couple injuries during this tournament, and all of a sudden the U.S. men's national team just can't necessarily get it done, man. I swear to God, that you're going to start seeing some interesting comments being made against Pochettino and whether or not he was the right fit. But that being said, it's going to be interesting, right? How Trinidad and Tobago are going to approach it. Really, it's a back five and four in the middle with one on top. But really, it's almost like a 3-5-2. It's going to be interesting to see how Trinidad, attacks the U.S. today. But far and away, I totally expect the U.S. to win this match, 100%. 100%. As we're getting close now to kick, as they're exchanging the flags in the middle of the field. My question to you guys out there is, what do you expect from the U.S. tonight? Are you expecting a win? More importantly, do you think that this U.S. team is capable of winning the Gold Cup? Let me know. I'm curious to know how you feel about it. As we are very, very, very close to kick now, as it looks like everybody has done all their pre-match handshaking. There's Pochettino with his group. It's going to be interesting, man. As they're getting their little pre-match talk underway. They're huddled in that little group, and we're almost ready to go now. And there's the men from Trinidad right there, and we're about ready to go. I would love to see this team get on the board within the first 5 minutes, man. Set the tone early, get that early goal, get the crowd behind them. Essentially taking Trinidad out of this match, effective immediately early. I would love to see it. Now it looks like Diego Luna will be responsible for making the open kick, and we're off now. As that ball is going to get laid back to Chris Richards, who's going to try to ping this one all the way forward. As that ball is going to be headed down to Diego Luna, who will take control as he hands this one all the way back to Tim Ream off the left-hand side as it's moved down to the right to Chris Richards. All the way down to Freeman now. Who lays it back to Richards. Up to Tim Ream. Ream's going to dribble forward. And he had a nice little pass all the way through to Diego Luna, who's going to lay this one down. As Tim Ream will corral it up to Diego Luna, who turns upfield. And he's marked by two Trinidad defenders, and there's a whistle right there, and it'll be a free kick for the U.S. men's national team. Good start here by the U.S. as Diego Luna did everything right to draw that whistle. And it'll be a free kick, and I believe Jack McGlynn might stand over this one. Wouldn't be surprised. The interesting thing, though, is like Trinidad, even though Trinidad probably doesn't match up, I wouldn't be surprised if they made this one difficult for the U.S. They're kind of scrappy and speedy, man. And here's this ball. It's gonna get whipped in, and that's gonna be headed away. And finally cleared, but the thing is gonna get all the way down. And it looks like Freeman went out to go get that one, as Matt Freeze is gonna play this forward. There's Diego Luna on the left-hand side, who's going to play this back to Tim Ream. Ream's going to play it down to Chris Richards. Over to Freeman as the U.S. is going to be attacking down that right flank. And Freeman will lay it back to Chris Richards now as U.S. resets. Up to Tim Ream. Ream is going to play that into Luna. A little bit centrally right there. There's Luca De La Torre. As the U.S. just can't necessarily seem to find a way into Trinidad's territory. Here's Freeman now. Plays it off the right to Jack McGlynn, who's going to play this all the way back to Chris Richards. Here's De La Torre. Here's Sebastian Berhalter. It's a sliding tackle, and U.S. will retain possession right there. Nice hustle. Here's Freeman. Oh, nice plate inside. Here's Diego Luna. Luna hands it off to Freeman, and that ball's going to get tipped away. And now all of a sudden, Trinidad has possession as they're going to try to move forward on the counter. And looks like there's no whistle right there as U.S. will retain possession here. Nice play. Here's Diego Luna. Playing centrally, and it looks like he tried to hit Sebastian Berhalter right there, who plays it all the way back to Richards. Here's Jack McGlynn on the right-hand side. Diego Luna in space. Lays it off to De La Torre. De La Torre plays it forward. Flicked on to Ajamiang. In the box. Here's the shot. Ooh. Wide right of the post right there. Good ball movement right there from the U.S. as they found Ajamiang one-on-one getting into the box. And that was a nice little flick on right there. I believe that was by Sebastian Berhalter that freed Patrick Ajamiang, who just missed the far post. 4 minutes in, and that was their best. That was the U.S.'s best opportunity to get the crowd behind them right there. Good ball movement though, as they were absolutely able to utilize the space that was given to them. Here's Tim Ream with the intercept. That ball's going to get played forward, flicked on. Here's Freeman. He's going to move forward. Here's Jack McGlynn on the right-hand touchline. And that ball's intercepted. Ooh, nice interception right there by Freeman, who's going to play this back to Chris Richards. Oh, that touch was just a little heavy. Ooh, look at Luca De La Torre. Tipping that one away. Here comes the U.S. up the left-hand side. It's Diego Luna. Luna's going to hold it. And finally, he's going to lay this back to Chris Richards. There's Tim Ream. And as I assumed, and that ball's going to get over the top and it's going to go out for a goal kick. And as I assumed, what was going to end up happening is the U.S. men's national team really attacking. It generally is a back three as Max Arfson essentially floats up that left-hand touchline as Diego Luna has now been, playing a lot more centrally up the middle. And you see the absolute ball movement that the U.S. men's national team are able to utilize as they're marching up, taking advantage a little bit of the space that's given. There's a shot on net that's going to get deflected out wide. As Trinidad were trying to play it out of the back, the U.S. press, forced an interception there. Shot on goal that gets deflected wide. Actually, it was off a cross. And it'll be a corner kick now for the U.S. Here's McGlynn. Plays it in, whipped, headed out. And it'll fall to Freeman. And now U.S. is going to have to reset here all the way back to Matt Freese as the U.S. will reset. We're 7 minutes in here in the first half. The United States has had a few good looks at net so far. The more dominant team here, as Trinidad really has yet to hold possession enough to even get on the front foot. Here's Sebastian Berhalter who lays it off to Freeman. Nice little movement there. Freeman will hit McGlynn off the right touchline right there. That's a nice little ball by McGlynn. Here's Freeman. Ooh, that's a nice little player. Here's McGlynn, and that ball was just way too heavy. As Trinidad will try to play it forward from their keeper. Chris Richards makes a nice tackle, but here it comes Trinidad in U.S. territory. Nice little play forward. Trying to get around the corner of Freeman. Freeman slides as that ball gets out. Dwight York, their head coach, is saying they wanted a free kick, but they're not going to get it. And I believe this thing is going to be a U.S. Goal kick, and it does indeed. And here's Max Arfston. And he's going to have to play this one back to Tim Ream. Ream is going to play this centrally to Chris Richards, and now the U.S. will try to move this down the right-hand side. Here's Richards. Coming off the FA Cup win with Crystal Palace. Probably coming into this Gold Cup with a lot of confidence now. De La Torre. Here's Max Starfs. Here's Sebastian Berhalter. Berhalter will play this forward. Nice little touch right there. Here's Sebastian Berhalter is holding on to this one. That's going to go all to the right. Here's Jack McGinn, who's going to play this back for Freeman, who's going to play it back to Richards as the U.S. is cycling it down to the left-hand side. Here's Tim Ream sitting on the ball. Plays it back to Richards. Down to Freeman as he's going to run forward. Lays it off. As Berhalter will switch to the left-hand side. There's Arfston. Nice little play forward. As he's going to cut in. Ball into the box. That's going to get deflected by Trinidad. As they're going to try to play this forward. Intercepted right there by Tim Ream. And that's going to be last touch by Trinidad as it goes out. And it'll be a U.S. throw-in. As that's going to get thrown all the way over to Tim Ream. As Ream will play this forward. Here's Diego Luna, who's going to turn upfield. Luna plays it forward. Ooh, just slightly too heavy of a touch as he was looking at Malik Tillman right there. Hoping Tillman was going to make a run right there. So we're 10 minutes now in, as we're actually approaching 10:30. U.S. in possession. And it's really been all U.S. right now, as they are trying to unlock Trinidad's back line. And so far, so good. It hasn't been all that terrible. Here's Tim Ream. Diego Luna. Luna is going to lay this all the way back to Chris Richards as the U.S. will try another way forward. Here's Freeman. Freeman over to Jack McGlynn. McGlynn's going to play this centrally. Here's Luca De La Torre. He's going to dribble this in. Lays it off to Arfston off the left-hand side. Arfston cuts over. Tries to get a position. Whipped in. Ashim Yang! Ooh, and again it goes wide. Oh, Patrick Ashim Yang again had another opportunity at goal. Gets on the end of the header of a nice little cross by Arfston, who beat his man to the back line. And Ashim Yang gets on the end of it. Oh, so close. And he just missed it. Oh, yeah, I don't think you can do any better than what that was. Arfston gave him such beautiful service. It was just not a great header right there. And so, so close. So close. Here's Luca De La Torre. He's going to lay this one back off for Arfston here. Is going to play this back to Tim Ream, who cycles it over to Chris Richards. Richards is going to lay this off for Freeman down the right-hand touch line. Freeman's going to lay this back again out to Chris Richards as the U.S. will restart things here in possession. So far, U.S. has been the far more dangerous team so far here in San Jose. Here's Diego Luna now. He'll play this back to Chris Richards. That's a nice little ball forward. Here's Sebastian Berhalter. And that's going to get deflected, but it gets deflected all the way to Jack McGlynn. and now off a Trinidad defender, and it'll be a U.S. throw-in. So, good Lord, man. So Patrick Ajimenye has had 2 very good opportunities here and hasn't been able to cash in. You got to bury those chances, dude. As Richard's going to cross the halfway line, here's Jack McGlynn, plays it forward, and it's going to be Freeman who's going to lay it off. Cross, that's going to get deflected out for a corner right there as the U.S. again is on the front foot. And it looked like that was laid off to Patrick Ajimenye running forward there as he tried to play this one across. Just a little too underwhelmed right there as that ball gets deflected out. So this will be a corner now for the U.S. 13 and a half minutes in. No, not a corner at all. Looks like it's going to be a goal kick. How in the hell is that a goal kick? Unless they whistled Ajimenye offsides, I don't know. As that ball's going to be booted up the field here by Trinidad. Richards is going to head this forward. There's Tillman. Oh, and Tillman's going to break free here. Here's Malik Tillman up the right-hand side. Plays it centrally. Diego Luna slips, but he retains possession. De La Torre. Flicked on. Here's Arfston. Cuts in. Lays it off to Luna. Plays it forward. Luna. Ooh! Luna was running into the box, but the U.S. will retain pressure here. That ball's going to go across the box. Headed away by Trinidad. U.S. will retain possession here, and there's a whistle. And they're going to say that was against the U.S. There's Poch. Looking good tonight. Wearing the blazer. As Trinidad will play this out of the back. They're going to play this one forward, but it's way shallow. U.S. is going to try to head this forward. Ajimenye is going to tip it off to the side. Here's Arfston, and he just gets his back pocket picked. And Trinidad will now have possession as they're going to try to work centrally, as they're going to play this one back. Oh, and Ajimenye is going to take this one away into the box. Saba over, shoots. Oh! Malik Tillman puts the U.S. on the board. Oh, what a beautiful play. And it all starts with Patrick Ajimenye stealing it away. As we will see this replay just a second, and Malik Tillman puts an absolutely beautiful finish on that one. As Ajimenye essentially runs over the right center back, lays it off. And I believe that was Sebastian Berhalter who plays it over. Malik Tillman is in the right place at the right time and goes short corner, short post, and buries it. No, it was Jack McGlynn that actually played the cross. Cut in, put one over to Malik Tillman, who was at the near post, and puts it just inside that near post, and it's 1-0. The USA. Ooh. The U.S. men's national team finally gets rewarded. Finally gets rewarded for the pressure, for the press that they have put on. And they finally put one in the back of the net. And now at 16 minutes, 38 seconds, the U.S. leads 1-0. Very, very, very good sequence right there for the U.S. And here's Diego Luna now. Luca De La Torre is just going to dribble in. Lays it forward. Here's Ajimenye now. Ajimenye tries to cut, trips. As Arfston tries to make a tackle there, but it's going to get turned over. Oh, very nice play right here. And Diego Luna played to Saba. Here's Freeman. Back to Luca De La Torre, who's got to lay it back to Tim Ream now. And Sebastian Berhalter will play it down to Chris Richards. So the U.S. leading 1-0 now. And And I love the intensity of which the Americans are playing. They're playing tough tonight. Here's Diego Luna going to play this forward. Malik Tillman will try to tip it back to Luna, but that ball gets taken away. But a really short touch there by Trinidad as the U.S. will keep possession deep. Here's McGlynn. McGlynn going to play it centrally. Tip forward. Here's Malik Tillman. Lays it off. De La Torre off the left-hand side. Here's Arfston. Arfston cuts. Shoots. Ooh, save right there. Ooh. Max Arfston. Absolutely. And you look at the passing and the way that they're able to free Arfston off the left-hand side. He came in and put an absolute cracker on the net. And it was a beautiful save right there by Trinidad. As the U.S. now will get a corner. As it has been absolute domination so far through the first 20 minutes for the U.S. men's national team. Playing absolutely beautiful football at this stage. As the hand goes up, McGlynn will put this one in. That's going to get headed out. Nice little head in by Luca De La Torre. McGlynn will put one in. As that'll get tried to get cleared out. Oh, nice play right there. And that'll get out. And I think this might be a U.S. throw-in. Are they going to say U.S. or Trinidad? Yeah. As Jack McGlynn put a nice little cross right there over to Malik Tillman, who was just in the right place to get that goal. And it'll be a Trinidad throw-in as they're going to try to play this one out the back, and the U.S. is pressing hard. And I don't think they can play through it. That's a nice little layoff. And as now Trinidad has got a little bit of space, but that ball gets intercepted and kicked out. And it'll be a Trinidad throw-in here. Sebastian Berhalter has looked good today too. I was a little worried about that double pivot of Luca De La Torre and Sebastian Berhalter, but I'll tell you what, it's actually not bad at all. Diego Luna is going to intercept this one right here. Sebastian will keep possession. Here's Max Arfston off the left-hand side. Who's going to lay it off to Berhalter, who's going to play it back. Tim Ream, who switches all the way right to Freeman now. And now the ball will sit at Chris Richards' foot, who plays it over to Tim Ream. Tim Ream now is going to control this thing. Plays it forward to Diego Luna. Oh, nice. Oh, good defense right there by Trinidad. Is they're going to try to turn and counter. And there's a whistle right there. It looks like it'll be against Malik Tillman. As Tillman. No, actually, it was Patrick Aubameyang right there. Fair enough. As now Trinidad's going to play this back. Is there anything in the tank that Trinidad is going to be able to offer in their attack? The U.S. is pressing. As that ball is going to try to get pinged over the top, and here's Trinidad. They're going to lay this one back. Oh, that was just a bad touch right there. But Trinidad will keep possession as they're working up the right-hand side. And there's a whistle. And they're going to say this is against Trinidad here. So the U.S. will get possession. And here's Chris Richards. Richards plays it off to Tim Ream now. And I can't stress this enough, right? The U.S. absolutely have to take advantage of these type of games. They can't allow Trinidad, even a sequence of 5 minutes to even remotely get into this game. It has to be constant pressure. And so far, so good, although there's a tip right there. And there's a whistle. As there is the restart, and here is the U.S. down the right-hand side. McGlynn, who's going to play this back to Richards. And Richards is going to switch all the way to the left-hand side. It's Arfston, who's going to head this forward. Diego Luna. And did that get out? Was that just a little too high for Arfston? I think they're going to say that. And it looks like this might be a Trinidad throw-in. Yep, it sure is. And of course, we all remember the turning point for the U.S. men's national team in the qualifying of the 1990 World Cup Italia. The United States hadn't qualified for a World Cup since 1950, and it had been a couple dark decades between the 60s and the 80s. And the U.S. in that 90 qualifying cycle, it came down to the last match in Trinidad, and of course Paul Caligiuri hit the $1 million goal that allowed the U.S. to qualify for the World Cup. And from that moment, the U.S. men's national team was reborn. Here's Sebastian Berhalter now. As Arfston's going to try to play this across, and that's just a little too hard. But racing over there is Sebastian Berhalter, who I think is going to get a foot on that, and that ball goes out. So it looks like it'll be a Trinidad throw-in. So these two teams definitely have history with inside this confederation. And I actually remember that. I remember that match in '89, and when Caligiuri hit that goal, which seemed to be from midfield, man, you just knew that they were going to win that match, and they held on, man. And the rest is history. Is starting in '91 when the U.S. won their first Gold Cup. It certainly has changed, man. The direction of this national team, the development of the players of this national team. Here's Chris Richards, who's going to play it up the right-hand side to McGlynn. McGlynn is going to try to play this forward off the left. Here's Diego Luna in the box. Ooh! Here's Aujamieng. Lays it off. Arfston cutting in, tipped away. Luca De La Torre. De La Torre plays it forward. Aujamieng. That ball's tipped and out, and I think it's going to be a corner. As Luca De La Torre, as Diego Luna was played free into the box off the left-hand side, just couldn't get it down to his feet in order to take a shot. So essentially what ended up being an absolute rush job as the Trinidad's keeper came out to actually make a play right there. He just couldn't get the ball down to his feet in time. But a beautiful through ball right there by Jack McGlynn. And Diego Luna just missed a brilliant opportunity right there for the U.S. as McGlynn played him in. And the U.S. are absolutely taking advantage of Trinidad's back line. And we are joined tonight by We Are Spurs TV. What's going on, my guy? Hope you're doing well this Father's Day. And we have Hamster Gamer, who says, "Hey, Footy, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well, man. Enjoying the game." The interesting thing about this one is that it looks like there's a player down on the pitch right now for Trinidad as the U.S. is going to take a quick little water break. So far right now, it's been all U.S. men's national team as we're 25 minutes into the first half. The U.S. has had multiple opportunities to score goals. Aujamieng had two opportunities where he probably should have buried one of them. But it turns out it was a Malik Tillman goal, assisted by Jack McGlynn off the right-hand side, which is why the U.S. is currently leading 1-0. Trinidad really has yet to put an attack together yet. That seems kind of surprising. We're 26 minutes in. So it's been constant, relentless U.S. pressure here. And as the U.S. are searching for their second goal here. And it's going to be a U.S. corner as McGlynn will take the corner. Arms are raised. And the ball's going to get whipped in. Just a little too far as that ball's going to get played down. I believe this was last touched by a Trinidad player, so it'll be another corner. But yeah, that McGlynn's ball was just a little too much as it went over the little scrum right there. As Aujamieng tried to head it forward, but it ricochets off a Trinidad defender and out for another corner here. I fully expect the U.S. to be in the final. At this stage, I just think these type of tournaments favor the U.S. They have the right balance on their roster. You're going to get a lot of heart and a lot of fight as this ball is going to get whipped in here, as that's going to get headed away. And I think it's going to get out again for another corner. I just feel there's the right chemistry here. Yes, we have some European starters in this one, but that being said, man, you're getting a lot of opportunities, a lot of first caps from some guys in Major League Soccer like Sebastian Berhalter, and you're going to have the right fight, man, the right tenacity, and I just think this team also has the right leadership as well too. So I fully expect it. And here's Sebastian Berhalter, who's going to stand over this corner, ball whipped, headed over the crossbar. As Chris Richards got on the end of that one, but he sails it over the crossbar. And this is no disrespect to Trinidad. I mean, Trinidad does have some talent on their team, but for the most part, you're talking about, the level of players that I would say that they're USL level players. And nothing against the USL, but it's not Major League Soccer. As that goal kick is going to get down, and it looks like US will take possession. Here's Ajimyang being played forward into the box. He's going to come up short, played it off. McGlynn. Ooh, and McGlynn put one on, and it just goes wide right. Another opportunity there for the U.S. men's national team, and McGlynn just mishit it right there, and he knew it too as soon as he hit it. So it'll be a Trinidad goal kick. And, and again, man, Trinidad is going to fight. They do. Trinidad has speed, but, when it comes to the position of their passing, it just seems a little off. And of course, with U.S. under U.S. constant pressure here's Ajimyang, who's going to – they're going to whistle that one against Ajimyang there as he tried to muscle his way onto the ball. And you can just see it right here as Trinidad is forced to play out of the U.S. press, you can just see some tentative passing. It's just not clean, man. And that I guess that kind of shows you the level of talent that they have. But that being said, they're going to play tough. Trinidad's going to play it tough, at least on the basis of heart. So, and there's a goal kick from Trinidad as this ball is going to go all the way up the field. And I believe that's going to get out. It does for a U.S. throw-in. So Freeman will take this for throw-in here. And that ball's going to get ricocheted out, and it'll be another U.S. throw-in. And I'll just say this, man. I'll give them all the credit in the world. They're out there busting their ass. They're trying their best out there, but the U.S. is just a little too much tonight. And I do like the way that Pochettino has deployed this team. And essentially, they're running with 2 10s with Diego Luna and Malik Tillman, as Max Arson is essentially the left wing back as he's bombing up the field. Here's Luca De La Torre. He's going to lay this off for Diego Luna. Plays it in. And Luna now will have possession. Who's going to have to play this all the way centrally to Freeman. And who's going to play it off to Tim Ream. And, I like it. I like what the U.S. are doing here. Here's Luca De La Torre. And essentially as they're moving forward, it is a back three. And so what you're seeing now is Sebastian Berhalter getting a little bit forward as Luca is kind of laying back a little bit. Arfston is essentially the left wing back as that ball's going to try to get played all forward to Ajimyang, who does. Tips it forward. Here's Diego Luna trying to dribble between 2 defenders as Trinidad will retain possession as they played that all the way down to the goalkeeper. And what that, essentially what that does is allow it to have three central attackers, 2 10s and Sebastian Berhalter with Jack McGlynn on the right and Max Arson off the left, who has actually done brilliant tonight, and Ajimyang centrally right there. So it gives the U.S. many opportunities to attack channels centrally. which is how Pochettino likes to play. He's a direct. He likes to play direct. Here's Tillman, fires it across, and I think that's going to be deflected out there, and I think it's by Berhalter, as that ball was played in, especially designed for Berhalter. And he just, okay, it was I think it was redirected off a defender right there. Sure was. So it'll be a corner here for the U.S. And I think what's the it's interesting, right? The discrepancies between the European-based U.S. players versus domestic-based players. It seems like the domestic-based players are a little bit more equipped to handle what Pochettino wants versus the European-based players. But that being said, I mean, our first team really hasn't played much together due to injuries and all that other sort. But so far, man, in this one, and I realize it's against Trinidad. Here's Luca De La Torre, and I think there's going to be a whistle here. Oh, there's going to be a yellow card too. And it's going to be against Garcia on the turf. It is going to be Freeman, who's now getting up. So yeah, that was a little bit of a hard tackle right there. You're coming 2 feet in, so you're taking out both feet of Freeman. So yeah, for sure, that's a yellow card. So here's the U.S. free kick from about 30 some odd yards. Yeah, maybe 30 off the right-hand side. It's going to be McGlynn and Berhalter standing over this one. Flowers for Berhalter tonight. He's actually played incredibly well. As we are almost ready for this kick to be taken here, as we're just waiting for the ref to blow his whistle. As the hand goes up, it's going to be McGlynn. Puts it in. Tim Yang! Ooh, again. Oh, that was Freeman. Freeman got into it, but he hit it directly right into the stomach of the keeper. Very good free kick by McGlynn as Freeman got on it. And it just goes direct right into the stomach of the keeper. God damn it. God damn it. As Trinidad's trying to play out of the back. Oh, U.S. takes possession back. As I think this is going to be a U.S. throw in here. It will be. As Dwight York is on the sideline screaming his head off. Head coach of Trinidad. I do like the appointment of Dwight York, though. I don't think Trinidad's going to qualify for the World Cup, but God bless him. That's a tough job right here. Here's Richards. Back to Richards from Ream as he's going to have to go back to corral this one. Lays it off for Freeman as the U.S. is going to play forward. Dumps it off to McGlynn off the right touch line. As McGlynn will play it all the way up, Tim Ream to the left. Here's Ream. Dribbling forward. Ream's going to play this direct. Nice way to take it off. And here's Trinidad trying to play it forward, and Tim Ream intercepts, gets in front of the pass, tipped up. And Matt Freeze comes out and takes the ball. And it stifles any type of attack right there by Trinidad. Not necessarily a chance right there by Trinidad, as the U.S. absolutely just shut down their passing lanes right there as they tried it for a quick counter there. So far, it's been all U.S. as we're in the 37th minute now. It should be, listen, man, it should be like 3-0 at this point. They had so many good opportunities that they just couldn't connect on. But they're doing all the right things as that ball's tried to get played all the way over the top right there. And it looked like it might have been Freeman. Nope, it was Tillman. As Spicer will take the throw in for Trinidad. And now he hands it off to his buddy. And they'll try to play this forward. And there's 2 U.S. shirts. And that ball gets tipped out by Freeman. So it'll be another Trinidad throw in here as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the first half here. And that ball's thrown forward. And Chris Richards will just head this out. So again, it'll be another throw in for Trinidad. It seems like they're inching up the field, one throw in at a time. And it'll get out for a U.S. throw-in. So as all this brouhaha is heading down the right-hand side here, as the U.S. will get themselves a throw-in, Freeman will take this one. As that'll come down, looks like it's Malik Tillman, and it is. Tillman with the goal. Here's Tim Ream. Ream's going to play it forward to Luna, who dinks it back to Ream, who's going to play this forward. Here's Saba. Saba plays it forward just a little too hard right there. And it looked like it was Malik Tillman who was trying to get on the end of that through ball, but just a little too hard, and checked that was Luca Della Torre. As he tried to play Malik Tillman forward just a little too strong right there at the through ball as it gets out for a goal kick. As Trinidad will boot this forward. Played by Richards. Taken down. Luca Della Torre will try to play this forward. Nice right there. Nice deflection there by Richards, and Ream will get it. Here's Arfston off the left-hand side. Arfston, he's got to play this one back to Tim Ream. Ream will play it all the way back to Freeze in net for the U.S., who was going to play this off to Chris Richards, and the U.S. will restart again. Chris Richards has actually played pretty goddamn well tonight, if I do say so myself. Now, granted, both Tim Ream and Chris Richards really haven't had that much to do. But what they have done is that ball's taken away by Trinidad. Oh, and Diego Luna's going to rip this one. Diego Luna. Oh, and they scored. And I do apologize. My stream went down. So now it's back up real quick. But the U.S. did just scored again. As I will give you the highlight in just 1 second. And what ended up happening was Trinidad ended up picking the back pocket right there. And as they were trying to play it back, they didn't recognize that Diego Luna had made that run. And Diego Luna ends up stealing the ball as he was trying to play it back to the goalie. As Diego Luna cut in and plays it across, and it was Malik Tillman for his second goal. As Malik Tillman absolutely ran centrally, untouched, unmarked, and Diego Luna just picks him out. And Malik Tillman will pop it in for his brace right there. Unbelievably sweet goal. Terrible mistake there by Trinidad. And the crazy thing about it is that Trinidad was just trying to play it back to the goalie. They felt the pressure and decided to play it back to their goalkeeper and didn't recognize the fact that Diego Luna had made the run to the keeper and intercepted the ball. And Malik Tillman just ran unmarked centrally and was able to finish it off for his second goal of the game so far. And now all of a sudden it's 2-0 U.S., 2-0 U.S. The U.S. men's national team. And this has been an absolute dominant performance for the U.S. here in the first half as we are getting very close to the 45th minute. As the U.S. will take this away centrally. Here's Diego Luna. Luna is going to play this forward to Sebastian Berhalter, who tries to cut in. That ball's deflected. Trinidad's going to try to play this forward, and there's a whistle. As a member of Trinidad hit the turf there. As Malik Tillman with his second goal tonight. That one was just even more prettier. Good awareness right there from Diego Luna. Absolutely just an animal. As Trinidad tried to work it up into the U.S. zone, but taken away. As Freeman will head this forward. As Tillman's going to play this up the left-hand side. Here's Diego Luna. Luna into the box, 1v1, cuts across. Luna shoots. Oh, goes in. Oh, Diego Luna. Oh, what recognition. As Luna was streaking down the left-hand side and he was picked out, gets into the box, crosses over his defender as he cuts in and puts one on net, and it goes through. And it's 3-0 U.S. men's national team, and the route is absolutely on. What an absolute through ball. Essentially a switch to the left-hand side. Diego Luna decides to cut in. Oh, and it was deflected. Oh, it's deflected by a Trinidad defender, but that ball goes in. 3-0 U.S. men's national team. Good Lord. As the U.S. has been absolutely dominant in this first half, as that ball gets deflected off a Trinidad defender, and there will be a U.S. throw-in. But all of a sudden, within the span of 2 minutes, the U.S. has put 2 goals through, and it's 3-0. And this was an absolute dominant performance. And yes, I understand, man, it's Trinidad. But this is exactly what this team absolutely needed. Just an absolute thumping of somebody after the last 2 matches where they lost to Turkey and Switzerland. And are we going, is this the half? It is the half. As we go into the half, the U.S. men's national team are leading 3-0 at the half, and it has been an absolute rout. As Tequila 316 will check in. He says, big up, buddy. About to head to bed over here at nearly 12 a.m. Enjoy the game. I will, my guy. It's good to see you in the chat there, Tequila. And, looks like Pochettino's doing his magic here. As we're going to check out some halftime stats here. And I would probably assume the stats are going to match everything that I just assumed that it would be as we get into it. So the U.S. men's national team lead possession 77-23. Their XG is 2.35. Total shots on net 13 for the U.S., 0 for Trinidad. Shots on target 6. That would be 0. U.S. men's national team have 5 big chances to Trinidad 0. And they also missed 3 big chances to Trinidad 0. Accurate passes, U.S. men's national team 294, 90% to Trinidad 68%. Fouls committed 6 for the U.S., 2 for Trinidad, and the U.S. leads the corner battle 6-0. Let's see. All right, let's get into this one for the shots though. Block shots, the U.S. has 3. Nobody's hit the woodworks, and here's the crazy thing: shots inside the box 11. And 2 outside the box. Touches inside the opposition box, 24 for the U.S., 0 for Trinidad. The throws are even at 6. The U.S. has 4 accurate crosses, 19 accurate long balls, possession passes inside the opposition half, 154 to Trinidad's 8 in their own half. The U.S. also has 140 to Trinidad's 60, and of course the overall passes, the U.S. leads 326 to 100. So there's that. As we get into defensive numbers, the tackles one is even 5-5. Interceptions are even 5-5. Trinidad has 2 blocks. They have 18 clearances to the U.S.'s 4, and keeper saves 3-0, as Matt Freese has yet really to make a save. Duels 1, it's even at 19. Ground duels actually won. Trinidad leads 14-12, but aerial duels, the U.S. leads 7-5, and successful dribbles are 2-2 apiece. So the listen, man. The thing that I will say is that it's been all the U.S. men's national team in the first half, as I expected it to be. Now the thing about it is like, again, you have to take this for what this match is. It is against Trinidad. And while I do like Trinidad, and I do think that, they do possess some talent, and I do like the fact that they play together, they do play with intensity. The talent it's such a wide discrepancy between these two teams. And, when you look at this roster for the U.S. for the Gold Cup, it is mainly based of domestic-based MLS players, but you can just see that the talent level is something completely different than what Trinidad has to offer. And as that, the U.S. were able to stay on the front foot the entire first half. The one thing that I absolutely liked was the fact that the U.S. is pressing together as a team. Every single time that a ball tries to get played centrally for Trinidad, there's 2 U.S. shirts on the ball. So, their mid block has been absolutely pretty goddamn good today as well too. So, I think so far Mauricio Pochettino has dialed up a perfect game plan against Trinidad. They're attacking Trinidad not just from the wings, but also centrally as well too, testing Trinidad's back line, attacking channels, and it's paid off. Malik Tillman's got 2 goals, and Jack McGlynn assisted the first one, Diego Luna with the second one, and of course, right before the end of the half, Diego Luna scored a goal as well too. So 3 absolute huge goals, 2 within the span of 2 minutes, and this thing is now successfully out of reach, because there's no way in hell that Trinidad's coming back from this one. Is Hamster Gamer is giving me the fish, giving me the blue fish. What's up, buddy? And he goes on to say the goat. I'm far from the goat, man. I'm just a decent guy who likes American soccer. So interesting turn of events. As let me go ahead and pull up. Let me go pull up the schedule for this one. So today, actually, it was yesterday. Mexico beat the Dominican Republic 3-2 in match day 1 of 3, Group A. And it looks like, Mexico did a really good job, man. So Edson Alvarez scored in the 44th minute for Mexico. 3 minutes later, Raul Jimenez scored for Mexico. And as the second half started, Peter Gonzalez scored for the Dominican. 2 minutes later, Cesar Montes scored for Mexico. And at that point, it was 3-1. And then Edson Azcona scored in the 67th minute. But Mexico hung on to win 3-2. Later today, Haiti takes on Saudi Arabia, and Costa Rica takes on Suriname. Tomorrow, you're going to see Panama versus Guadeloupe, Jamaica versus Guatemala, and on Tuesday is Curacao versus El Salvador, and Canada versus Honduras. The next time the U.S. plays is going to be on Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern, as they take on Saudi Arabia. And of course, that match will be here on Stateside Footy as well, too, as the U.S. is going to march on, of course, to a Gold Cup crown, because of course they will. Of course they will. It's interesting, right? as I stated before this match started, I guess the mindset of the current players versus the mindset of what former players and the attitude that they had towards the national team. And one of the things that I will say is that I think Clint Dempsey, said it perfectly, right? Where it's like, listen, man, as a member of the U.S. men's national team, you want to be available for all tournaments, whether that's regional, Concacaf tournaments, whether that be the Nations League or whether it be the Gold Cup. But that being said, you also have, Copa America as well too, that the U.S. does seem to get invited to quite a bit, and then of course you have the World Cup, and as that standard bearer player, a guy like Christian Pulisic, he's getting a lot of flack from some of these old greats because it's like, listen, man, if you want to take off an international friend, an international window where you're playing friendlies, man, be that as it may, do it. Because at the end of the day, man, you're just, if you want to rest up, man, you're more than welcome to do that. But when it comes to tournaments, man, you have to be available. If you are considered like, the standard bearer of what today's U.S. men's national team is, that's exactly where you want to prove yourself in those tournaments. And even if you've played, Panama, Canada, Mexico, whatever the case may be, 30 times in 3 years, but when it comes to tournaments, man, that's what it's all about, lifting trophies. And, I guess it just depends on the mindset of how the players feel about some of these tournaments. And, Christian took a lot of flack, man, especially from guys like, Landon. And I understand, man, Landon takes a lot of shit too, but let me tell you, you might be right. Carl Simpson, man, who said, should I go to bed or watch football? Watch football, sir. Watch football. You gotta watch. You gotta love, and you gotta love U.S. football, man. For those that are tuning in, we are at the half. The U.S. men's national team are leading 3-0 over Trinidad and Tobago. 2 goals by Malik Tillman and 1 by Diego Luna right before the end of the half. And it's good to see Malik Tillman get on the score sheet today, because I'll tell you what, this last season for PSV in the Eredivisie, he did deal with some injury issues where it knocked him out of a couple windows, and he missed a couple more windows due to getting back into form. But that being said, man, this was a good opportunity for a guy like Malik Tillman to reassert himself in the national team, and make sure that competition-wise, he's going to be one of those guys that is going to look for that Pochettino is going to look for to grab one of those World Cup spots. These are the games that you take advantage of it, man. Which is why guys like Diego Luna, Max Arfston, Jack McGlynn, Sebastian Berhalter, some of these guys that may or may not necessarily be high up on the depth chart when you look at the U.S. pool in totality. They may not necessarily be the first or the second choices, but when they come in and have these type of performances for the U.S., what it does, it makes Pochettino stop and say, well, damn, I know for a fact that I can trust him because I've given him minutes. He goes out there and he makes the most of his minutes, and he also puts the ball in the back of the net. Where a guy like, and I hate to say this, man, a guy like Gio Reyna, who, can't stay on the field because he constantly gets injured, and then when he does come back and he is given an opportunity, he doesn't make the most of it. It's hard for a guy like Pochettino to look at him and say, I can trust you. Yes, I can say that you have talent, but what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of being able to trust you with a World Cup roster spot? So that's what this Gold Cup represents, man. It represents opportunity for some of these guys that may or may not have otherwise given the opportunity. And I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. And I'll say this again, right? Your World Cup roster cannot just be a who's who and an all-star team of European-based U.S. players. Now, granted, it's probably going to look like that, but your world, like the best World Cup teams that the U.S. has put out has been a combination of domestic-based players and European-based players, right? Because it's not necessarily the most talented in your pool, but it's also the players that fit into specific spots. And I guarantee you, there's going to be a couple MLS-based players that are going to make that roster because they just fit better. And they're able to do certain things that, maybe a guy like Brendan Aronson isn't able to do. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pochettino navigates it. But, as we are getting ready for the second half here in San Jose, California, the question is, for those of you out there, is Trinidad and Tobago going to get a goal tonight, or are the U.S. going to keep the clean sheet? That's number one. And also, does Pochettino make any changes to start the second half, knowing that they got a 3-goal lead? Very good question. I would probably think that we are going to see some changes. Is it looks like the U.S. has got this one in their back pocket, and it might be an opportunity to see some other guys here in the second half. The question is who? Would this be a situation we're gonna see the Aronson brothers here in the second half? I've been high on Paxton Aronson for about a year and a half now. I think Paxton is an underrated killer. For those that don't know, Paxton plays for FC Utrecht in the Eredivisie. He had himself just an unbelievable campaign in the Netherlands this year, and helping Utrecht to a third place finish in the Eredivisie this year. And they just had an absolute phenomenal campaign. I think Paxton had something like 6 goals and 12 assists, something like that. A very good player. What's going on with my stream now? As we are slowly and surely getting now to the start of the second half, and yeah, I think this, from where I sit, I just think that there's plenty of opportunity here, specifically in the second half. I actually wouldn't mind seeing some faces in the second half that are going to blend well, that are going to add a little something different. The interesting thing, though, is going to be, as it looks like the U.S. is coming out of their changing room here as they're coming. That's odd. The changing room is outside the stadium. That's odd. You're in San Jose, because it looks like Trinidad has taken the field already. At least some of them are out there already. As the U.S. players are making their way back to the pitch here. There's Diego. Yeah, I just think that the U.S. Are going to win this tournament. Call me crazy. I know they haven't played well, but they're pretty goddamn good. Yeah, that's odd, man. That is a very, very, very odd stadium setup, right? I'm just noticing here, right? PayPal Park in San Jose, it's the home of the San Jose earthquake, but so the changing rooms are outside the stands, and so you walk through this concourse, and then you go up these stairs, and then it's like, okay, cool, you're on the pitch. But good Lord, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Wow. Fair enough. That's an oddly designed stadium. Usually the changing rooms are underneath the stands there, but fair enough, right? That's how they do things in San Jose. As we're getting close to the start of the second half here. As the U.S. now takes the field here. As we're getting pretty close. I guess the question isn't exactly if the U.S. is going to win this one. It's by how much. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop 5 on Trinidad. This has been an absolute butt kicking, right? It has been all the U.S. From the opening whistle, they've been on the front foot, and it looks like we're about to get ready here for the start of the second half, as Tim Ream is putting up his man bun. As they're re-showing Diego Luna's goal. So as the U.S. kind of gets into their little huddle, and we'll see what Trinidad has to offer them now in the second half. As we are almost ready to go here. And there's Maurizio. As Trinidad will now take the kick to start the second half, and it's going to be played back. And we'll see what Trinidad is going to be able to do here. 3-0 U.S. men's national team at the start of the second half, as that ball is going to get tipped away. As Chris Richards will corral it here. As Trinidad trying to apply some pressure here. They do a pretty good job of it. Here's Diego Luna, though. Let's going to lay this back. De La Torre is going to hit Arfston, who's going to play it forward. And Diego Luna is going to actually ping this one back to Tim Ream. And Ream now here is going to play this across. And here's Freeman. He's going to play this across again to Tim Ream. And there's Yang. He's going to lay this forward all the way across the front of the goal. There's a shot on net. Save. That looked like it was Max Arfston right there. That's a nice little shot right there by Max Arfston. And it was looking like it was Jack McGlynn that played that forward as that ball came across the mouth of the goal right there. As Jack McGlynn corralled that one in, played it back in, and there was Max Arfston who had cut in and tried to put one on net, but it was pretty direct right there to the keeper. So U.S. will take possession here. Here's Chris Richards, who's going to play this forward to Luca De La Torre. De La Torre. And De La Torre's got nowhere to go with this ball. And he's just going to play it back to Tim Ream. Here's Chris Richards now, who's going to play this forward to McGlynn. McGlynn is going to try to play this one forward. And he does successfully. It's Malik Tillman. Tillman is going to try to cross this one all the way over. Here's Arfston. Arfston. He's going to lay this back to Diego Luna, who tips to De La Torre. De La Torre to Sebastian Berhalter. Berhalter over to Arfston. Arfston crosses it in, deflected out. And that'll be a corner for the U.S. Looks like their 7th corner. Max Arfston has been absolutely brilliant tonight. He has been a menace up that left-hand side. Good crossing ability. He put one on Patrick Aubameyang's head earlier tonight in the first half. And Ajimyang couldn't put it in the back of the net, but he has been absolutely brilliant. As they're going to play this one short, here's Diego Luna. Here's De La Torre. He's going to play this one back out to Luna. Luna is going to lose control of the ball, as Trinidad will end up kicking this one off of Arston and out. And it'll be a Trinidad throw-in. As Diego Luna tried to flick this one back to Arston, it just couldn't handle it. And U.S. will take possession just right after the throw-in. Arston. And here's Chris Richards now. Here's Jack McGlynn on the right-hand side. He's going to lay this back down to Freeman. Freeman's looking for something, and he finds Chris Richards. As Richards will play this forward now. Here's Jack McGlynn. Oh, that's going to get tipped all the way back. And it looks like Chris Richards is going to have to chase this one. And he does and keeps it in. As that ball's going to get switched to the left-hand side. It's Max Arston. That Hank had some power on it. Arston couldn't control it. Here's Luca De La Torre looking forward, playing it forward. And he finds Malik Tillman, who's going to dribble around. Plays it into Ajimyang. Ajimyang, that ball gets tipped away. Arston in the box, cuts, shoots it across. Here's McGlynn. McGlynn puts one on. Ooh, and it just goes wide. Ooh, McGlynn almost had a goal right there. Oh, and that thing just sailed just an inch past the post right there at the far post. Oh, this close. As it'll be a Trinidad goal kick. And so far, Trinidad just really hasn't done much on the attacking front. No shots on goal so far, as we are approaching we are in the 50th minute now. As looks like Tim Ream is going to control possession and play it back to Freeze, who's going to lay it up front to Chris Richards. Here's Luca De La Torre. De La Torre is going to try to play this one forward, and he does. It's Ajimyang dribbling into the box, and he can't get around the corner. But he does cut. Ajimyang shoots. Ooh, and it looks like it gets deflected. How about Ajimyang using his strength to get into position to put a ball on net? But it looks like Phillip made the nice save right there. As Ajimyang couldn't get around the corner, but he makes a heavy touch, retrieves the ball, drives forward, puts a shot on net where Phillip made a nice little save right there. And it looks like Phillip is still down. And you wonder if there's a hand issue there, as he's still on the turf, as he's holding his wrist. So the physios will come out. And this started because Ajimyang is trying to take the corner, and he doesn't get it. Goes back and retrieves his heavy touch. Drives forward, puts one on, and Phillip makes a nice save, but he's holding his wrist. So that's the third opportunity right there for Patrick Ajimyang, who is over 3 now. He had 2 very good looks at net in the first half, and that's his first of the second. So, interesting. These are the type of teams that Ajimyang feasts off of. He really does. And when you look at the games in which he scored, these are the type of opponents that he does score against. But so far today, 0 for 3 when it comes to big chances for him. So here's the corner here. It looks like it's going to be Sebastian Berhalter taking this one, as Jack McGlynn will come back onto the pitch now. Here's Berhalter. Whips it in. A little short there. That's going to get tipped away by Chris Richards. And the U.S. will retain possession as they're going to try to play this one forward. It's Ajimyang. Can't get around the corner. Going to lay this one off. And that ball's going to get intercepted as Trinidad's going to try to get up the field. What a play by Diego Luna, who gets the ball back. Here's McGlynn. Freeman's going to have to. Oh, that's a whistle right there. He was trying to retreat. Freeman gets tripped up, and there's a whistle. That'll be against Trinidad. And had there been no whistle, Trinidad was going to get up the field quick. So that'll be a free kick for the U.S. And they're going to play this one back to Richards. As Richards is going to hold the ball at his feet here. And finally, he dumps it off to Freeman. And Freeman's going to try to chip this one up. And he does successfully, as that ball is going to get taken away there by Trinidad. And now Trinidad's going to try to work their way up the pitch. The U.S. press is constant. Nice little ball movement right here by Trinidad as they're trying to play their way out of it. Unsuccessfully. As they're going to have to play this one forward now and right into the hands of Freeze. As they played it over both the center backs right into the hands of the keeper. And U.S. will take possession now. There's Tim Ream. Goes all the way down to Arfston, who's now going to push up the pitch. Arfston. It'll find Luca De La Torre, who's going to play this one across to Freeman, who's going to go right to Jack McGlynn. Here's Diego Luna. Kicks it back to McGlynn, who's going to kick it back to Freeman. And all the way back to Richards as the U.S. will try to reset here. Here's Tim Ream now. Plays it forward to Arfston, who's wide open on the left-hand side. Who's going to cut in. Arfston trying to find somebody as that ball was met for Sebastian Berhalter, but it goes behind his back. So here's Trinidad up the left-hand side, trying to cut in, still retains possession, and finally is taken down. And now there is a free kick for Trinidad as Sebastian Berhalter finally put an end to it. But as they were coming up, it was Sebastian Berhalter to sweep the ball from underneath the legs. And now Trinidad's going to have their first free kick right outside the box. And it's going to be from about 25 yards. This could be a huge opportunity for Trinidad to at least get one on the board here. As we're in the 56th minute now. As here's the ball. It's going to get played in. Just a little too heavy as it goes out. And it'll be a goal kick for the U.S. men's national team. As they were trying to be a little direct right there with that free kick. Just too much power as it goes over and out through the end line right there. As the U.S. will play from the back here. Here's Tim Ream. Ream is going to play this forward, trying to find Ajimyang down the pitch. Is there a whistle? Yeah, there's a whistle. And it looks like it might be against Ajimyang there, and it will. As Trinidad will take this free kick, and now all of a sudden, let's see how they're able to wind through this. As the U.S. is going to try to press here. Here comes Trinidad trying to play through centrally as that ball's going to go all the way to the left. Pass Freeman and into the box. Richards. Oh my God! How did he get off that? How did he get off that pass? As it goes through the goal box and out, and that was a absolute dangerous play here. As they allowed space centrally. As Trinidad played this up to the left, Richards went back to try to block it, and I think it gets past. Oh yeah, it was tipped off the hand of Freeze, who makes a nice save as that goes out past the end line. And now it'll be a Trinidad corner here And all of a sudden, the last couple of minutes, Trinidad's been dangerous as that ball gets headed out. Now, all of a sudden, Trinidad's looking dangerous here as they're going to have another corner as that ball was headed out. As they'll do this again, ball's whipped in, deflected. U.S. is going to try to clear this, and they do. And there is somebody down. And it looks like it's going to be Garcia for Trinidad as he's holding his head. As we look at the replay, it was Ajimyang and Garcia going for it. And it looks like Ajimyang got all ball. It looks like this is as a decoy. As Matt Freese, by the way, as he tipped that ball away, they actually had a runner as the ball went underneath that dude's arm as he was sliding in to try to make a play at goal. Very, very close there for Trinidad. As we're looking for the restart here. As they're attending to Garcia on the pitch here. And it looks like he's good. As the physios are administering the eye test. Looks like U.S. is in full control here as we are approaching the 60th minute now. 30 minutes remain as the U.S. are in full control here in San Jose, California. As we're about to hit the restart here. And it looks like it'll be a goal kick here for the U.S. as they have been absolutely dominant today. As Matt Freese will throw this out to Freeman. As Chris Richards will hold possession, plays it over to Tim Ream. Ream's going to have to play this back to Richards. Here's Freeman. Trinidad's trying to press here. Nice little play right there is Luca De La Torre. He's going to hold possession. Tim Ream's going to play it all the way out to Max Arfston. There's nobody around. Arfston's going to move this ball up the pitch. Stops. He's got to play it back. Here's Tim Ream. Ream. And here's Richards. I was happy to see Chris Richards hoist the FA Cup this year. Nice little validation for the way that his season started versus the way it ended. It's absolutely night and day. Here's Ajimyang. He's going to play this out to the left, and that's just way, way, way too hard. As Max Arfston was there, but that ball got played high and behind him. But it's nice, right? Because I think he's one of now only 3 U.S. players to ever win the FA Cup, joining Tim Howard, and I want to say there's another one. I can't think of it right now, but it's a very special accomplishment. It just shows you, how many American players have ever been involved in the FA Cup versus how many have been able to lift it. So it's nice to see Chris Richards and Crystal Palace being able to beat Man City this year. As that ball gets tipped forward, U.S. is going to try to get on that one, but that ball gets deflected out. U.S. throwing. As Tim Ream's going to try to hold this one. There's Diego Luna. Play it forward. I think Sebastian Berhalter got hit. Here's Diego Luna dribbling through. Plays it all the way out to the left. It's going to be Malik Tillman. And they're going to lay it off to Max Arfston, who's going to play this one forward. It's Luca De La Torre. Out to Arfston, who's got to play this all the way back to Tim Ream. Ream is going to go centrally. As Berhalter is going to switch this to Freeman off to the right. Freeman plays it back to Tim Ream. And here's Luca De La Torre. De La Torre is going to look centrally. Nice little spot right there. Malik Tillman to Ajimyang. And I think this is going to go to Trinidad, and that's a goal kick who's going to go up the field, headed forward by the U.S. And Trinidad will hold possession as they're trying to work their way up the left-hand side. Centrally, nice little tip away by the U.S. Tracking back is Chris Richards, who's going to kick this one out, and it'll be a corner. Credit Trinidad. Defensively, they've looked a little bit better over the last 10 minutes now. And it looks like they're trying to get numbers forward as well, too. Can the U.S. hold them to the clean sheet here? I think this will be their fourth corner now? As we're approaching the 64th minute. As that corner is going to get deflected. Oh, nice. Sebastian Berhalter is going to rip it. Here's Diego Luna. Luna's going to play this centrally, and all of a sudden the U.S. have got numbers. It's Aubameyang. Plays it forward off the left-hand side. It looks like it's going to be Arfsted. Here's Tillman. Lays it off centrally. Here's Aubameyang. Aubameyang. And that ball gets hit. That ball, is that going to get deflected out for a corner? I believe so. As Aubameyang tried to turn and put one on net. As the U.S. had numbers forward, and Malik Tillman laid it off nicely to Aubameyang, who turned and tried to fire. As here's the corner's going to get laid off, and I don't know what that was. As it was Max Arfsted right there who tried to put one on net and ends up kicking it to the moon right there. So Trinidad will have possession here. And here's the U.S. Here's Diego Luna. Shoots on net. Ooh, save by Phillip right there. And Trinidad, as the U.S. press has created so many interceptions and turnovers here. And the U.S. just did it again. As Diego Luna receives the ball right at the top of the 18-yard box, puts one on. Nice save right there by Trinidad. So it looks like the U.S. are trying to flex their muscles here. They're doing a good job of it. Here's Sebastian Berhalter running through the center of the pitch. It's Malik Tillman. Tillman's going to play it up to Jack McGlynn. Plays it centrally to Diego Luna. As he gets his back pocket ripped. And now here comes Trinidad on the counter. As he's going to play it centrally against Chris Richards. Good deflection off by Richards. Oh, very good play right there by Berhalter. Here's Diego Luna. Racing up the left-hand side. Luna. And he tries to play it forward. And Aubameyang didn't make a run. Nice deflection right there by Chris Richards on the defensive side of the ball. Denying Trinidad the opportunity in the box right there. And it looks like there's going to be a whistle here down on the ground. Looks like it was Arfsted. They're going to whistle this one against Trinidad. As the U.S. will retain possession. As Arfsted will play this one to Tim Ream. I will say that Trinidad has tested those two center backs today. And they've held up quite well. Here's Ream touching it forward to De La Torre, who works it out to Arfsted, and there's nobody on that left-hand side as Arfsted is going to play this forward. Arfsted lays it off to the left. It's Malik Tillman. Tillman, 1v1, cuts in, has to lay it off. He gets his own ball. Aubameyang all the way out. That ball's intercepted as he was looking for McGlynn. Here comes Trinidad as they're going to try to play this one centrally. And here's Diego Luna. who is absolutely covering immense ground, not allowing Trinidad necessarily to get forward as they like. And now all of a sudden they're going to have to switch to the left-hand side. As Trinidad is working their way up the pitch now. As they're going to try to work this down the right-hand side. As they're going to have to play this one back. And they're going to have to reset. The U.S. is just not allowing them any passing lanes to work that ball forward. As Trinidad's going to try it down the right-hand side now. So you're going to play this forward, and that's just a little too heavy. And that's going to get out for a goal kick. As Malik Tillman is up, as he took a nice little hard shot right there as he was going to. As he was coming back onto the ball that he tried to cut in on. He gets absolutely destroyed, but he's up off the pitch. As the U.S. will start. Here's Matt Freeze. Going to play it centrally to Richards. Here's Richards moving up the pitch. He's going to lay this off for Freeman. He's going to play it forward to McGlynn. Glenn to Diego Luna. Here's Luca De La Torre. And that has to go all the way back to Freeman as the Trinidad press is doing its job. Here's Matt Freeze. And here comes Chris Richards now. We're going to go centrally now. And here's Arston off the left-hand side. He's going to lay this off to Ajimyang. Ajimyang. Oh, and he loses control of it. Oh, nice way to keep that in. Good play right there by the U.S. Keeping that ball in play right here. As they're going to try to figure out a way to get in. Here's McGlynn. Diego Luna. Back to McGlynn. He's going to play this one all the way forward. And it's Luca De La Torre, but right there is Diego Luna to keep possession. Here's Jack McGlynn trying to dribble out of trouble. Lays it off. Centrally, Tillman to Ajimyang. And that ball's turned over. Oh, and the U.S. tip it away. And there's a whistle. No whistle. Here's Tillman now. Centrally, try to play it forward. And I think there's going to be a whistle here. As Malik Tillman tried to play this one forward. Now it looks like the U.S. is going to be ready for some substitutions here. As Tillman was trying to dribble through, try to play it forward, and he was absolutely hammered. As we are in the 71st minute now, U.S. still leading 3-0. There's Dwight York, who's wearing his own hat. That's interesting. That dude likes himself. Total shots on goal for this one, 19-1 U.S. It's been all domination. And I think that's going to be it for Malik Tillman, who today has been absolutely brilliant. 2 goals on the day today. And he's been in all the right places for the U.S. And, of course, Diego Luna grabs one right before the end of the first half. And it looks like we're going to see some substitutions here for the U.S. And it looks like it's going to be Brendan Aronson, Haji Wright, and Mark McKenzie. As we'll find out who's coming off. I would probably assume that Ajin Yang is going to come off for Wright. As we will see. No changes yet. Oh, actually, no, there is. Yeah. So Haji Wright, Brendan Aronson, and Mark McKenzie are in. And I would assume that Haji's going to be up top. With Brendan Aronson at the 10. And Mark McKenzie is going to be on the back line. As Trinidad's going to try to play up the right-hand side. Nice play right there. As Arvston's going to pick that ball. And they're going to say there's a whistle here. That'll be a Trinidad throw-in here. As we are in the 74th minute. 3-0 U.S. As it's literally been all U.S. men's national team today, especially in that first half, as they netted 3. Haven't necessarily came out necessarily on the front foot like we saw there in the first half. Not as many clear-cut chances, but they are still getting forward. They're still pressing, and they're still doing it. They're still disrupting what Trinidad's trying to do here. So from that standpoint, it's much of the same as we saw in the first half. But as far as the attacking third, they're not as they're not as dangerous as they were in the first half. But that being said, Trinidad, like I said, man, Trinidad has been fighting. You can tell. Yeah, that's a nice little move to get around. Trinidad's trying to break forward off the left-hand side. That ball gets deflected again and played out of bounds. Looks like that was played out by Mark McKenzie right there. So it'll be a Trinidad throw-in deep in U.S. territory. As that ball's going to get away. Here's Brendan Aronson. He's going to try to dribble forward. Yeah, that's going to get poked away. Trinidad will have possession. As they're trying to work through a U.S. press here. That ball's going to get played forward. They're going to try to get away from it. That's going to shoot, and it's going to go wide. As James tried to do something there for Trinidad. As he looks like he may have gotten around Mark McKenzie right there. And it looked like it might have been tipped out by McKenzie. And it'll be a corner now for Trinidad and Tobago. So yeah, it looks like there's a back 3. That's going to be headed away. So the back 3 is going to be Ream, Richards, and McKenzie. So it looks like Freeman may have came out now. Oh, nice rub right there by Malik Tillman. I think Luna may have came off. I think Aronson replaced Diego Luna. And it'll be a U.S. free kick right here. as they're going to try to break out of the Trinidad press right here, and they're doing a pretty good job. As they're going to lay this one off. Here's Chris Richards. He's going to play it forward to Luca Della Torre. And he's got to play this one back. Here's Arston. He's being hounded. Oh, there's a whistle right there. As Sebastian Berhalter is on the ground now. As we're approaching the 80th minute now. Yeah. As Phillips came in and just put one on. As he put one on, Sebastian Berhalter. Now Arston is taking time. He's limping a little bit. Here's De La Torre now. Plays it forward. Taken away by Trinidad. And now Trinidad is going to try to apply some pressure moving forward. As we're working up the left-hand side, that ball's going to get played in just a little too far, a little too hard of a through ball right there as Matt Freese will take this one. And he'll roll it out to Chris Richards. We'll play it back to Freese as the U.S. is trying to get forward now. It's Chris Richards. He'll roll this one up to Brendan Aronson, who's going to stay on the ball. There's a whistle. Brendan Aronson, of course, just won promotion with Leeds, who will be back up in the Premier League this season. So congratulations to Brendan Aronson, who is now back in the Premier League. Love seeing American players in the Premier League. Here's Chris Richards. And so you're going to try to play this one up the right-hand side. And McGlynn's going to have to hit this one. There's Brendan Aronson right there. And he goes down to the turf. Absolutely. As that ball gets played forward now. And all of a sudden, there's a Trinidad player on the ground. And it's Patel. And about to check in for the U.S. men's national team is Brendan's little brother, Paxton. So the Aronson brothers are going to be fully represented here on the pitch here for the U.S. Yeah, that was just a terrible tackle right there by Patel. As they're going to try to play this one forward. It's going to go all the way to the left. Here's Arston. Moving in. Tries to cut in. There's nobody there. Here's Sebastian Berhalter who's going to play it back to Arston. And he's going to play this one forward. It's going to be Brendan Aronson. Aronson cuts in. Aronson shoots. Oh! Oh! Brendan Aronson. As he cut in, Brendan Aronson had space to put one on. And it gets past the keeper. Excellent goal right there by Brendan Aronson. And it's 4-0 U.S. men's national team. The U.S. has been absolutely dominated. Thorough domination. What a nice little goal by Brendan Aronson. That's it's initially stopped by the keeper underneath the arm as it goes in. But Brendan Aronson gets played forward, cuts in, and puts one on. And it gets through the keeper right there. Unbelievable goal by Brendan Aronson. And now it's 4-0 U.S. And it's just pure domination. And this is exactly what we wanted to see from the U.S. tonight. Erasing the devastating loss from Switzerland pre-Gold Cup tune-up. And now Trinidad is down 4-0 as we are in the 82nd minute now. And I believe Paxton Aronson now has came on the pitch. Oh, nice way to muscle that one off. As the U.S. now are going to make their way forward. Here's Brendan Aronson, and he was in the middle of 3 Trinidad defenders, and now they're going to try to play this one forward. It's going to be James who's going to play it. Save right there by Matt Freeze. As Trinidad was going to try to hit the quick counter right here. As Luca Della Torre has come off for Paxton Aronson, as they're going to try to play this one forward. Here's Haji Wright. Haji shoots. Ah! And it's 5-0 US as Haji Wright gets on the score sheet. As the US has now scored 2 goals in a matter of a minute here. Unbelievable. Great goal by Haji Wright as that ball was played forward from the mid. As we're going to check this one out, it's going to be Max Arfson who's going to play this one forward. Haji Wright was onside as that ball gets played down the left-hand side as he comes in the box, cuts in between 2 defenders and puts one on. And it finds the far post, curls inside, and it's 5-0 US. And it is what it is, man. It's Trinidad. No disrespect to Trinidad, but I've been saying it all match long that the reality, the talent discrepancies between these 2 nations are night and day. And with Trinidad, you're going to get fight and you're going to get hustle and you're going to get speed, but technical ability, man, is on the side of the U.S. And that was actually on full display here today. So as we're in the 84th minute, 5-0 USA as the United States, from the opening whistle has been on the front foot. They've applied pressure all day long. And as for Trinidad, because of the pressure, they just have not really been able to get up the pitch often. And when they did, they made some nice moves, but ultimately, the US's defense has absolutely shut it down. But what I will say is that the US had the right game plan for this one. They just threw too much at them, couldn't handle it. And US took advantage of the opportunity, right? They had quality chances and they put them away. 2 goals by Malik Tillman, 1 goal and assist by Diego Luna, 1 goal by Brendan Aronson, and the last one by Haji Wright. And this is exactly what we want to see from the U.S. men's national team. Absolute domination of a team like Trinidad as that ball's going to get played forward. And it looks like it's going to be Brendan Aronson. Brendan plays one in. Nice save by Phillip. And I wonder if they're going to say that was offside. Yeah, it is. As Brendan Aronson was all alone. So you kind of wonder. As Arfson played him on, but yeah, Aronson was way offside by a full step. But Aronson, good save right there by Phillip, who got his hand on it. And now Chris Richards is going to come off, and it looks like it's going to be Miles Robinson checking in now. And I believe that's going to be the last substitute now for Mauricio Pochettino. And now as we're in the 87th minute now, there's a Trinidad defender right there who's down on the ground complaining of cramps. As this clock is ticking down now as we're approaching the 88th minute. And it's been all U.S. today. it's nice to see Brendan Aronson and Haji Wright get on the and Malik Tillman get on the score sheet today. Those guys, those guys' goals have been far and few in between, so it's nice to see it. That's going to be a big confidence boost for those guys as this tournament moves along. As Trinidad's in possession, that ball is going to be taken away, and there's a whistle. And it looks like Sebastian Berhalter was in there to take that one away, as the U.S. now will restart play. Here's Miles Robinson. As we are just a few minutes away, here's Paxton Aronson. Paxton's going to play this forward to Haji Wright, who was taken down. He was literally just kind of bear hook taken down right there. Jeez. Jeez. The U.S. will restart things here. U.S. has done a really good job today, man. Now, granted, yeah, I mean, it's against Trinidad. Trinidad, for the most part, especially in that first half, looked a little disorganized, but for the most part, man. And because of that, they just hadn't been able to get forward as often as they'd like. And, but the U.S. were able to take advantage of everything and just able to pressure him to death. As here's Trinidad moving up the left-hand side, trying to cut into the box. There's a deflection right there. Looks like by McKenzie, as Miles Robinson now will try to clear this one. And he does, as that goes out of play. So we are in the 90th minute. It'll be +3. Three minutes of stoppage time for the U.S. As Trinidad's going to have to play this all the way back. Attacking down the right-hand side now. As that ball is going to try to play forward. That's just a little too hard right there, as that's going to get out for a goal kick. And, that's what, if you're a U.S. men's national team fan, this is exactly what you want to see. Them getting off on the right foot here to open up the Gold Cup. One of the things that you just wanted to see was, a lopsided number, as we're seeing today. 5 goals on Trinidad. Absolutely, absolute domination. Never has, it's never, this match was never in jeopardy for the U.S., and that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that confidence build in this group, because there are going to be some tests here as the U.S. are going to try to dribble into the box, as that ball is going to get deflected out, and looks like that was Brendan Aronson right there. Because there are going to be some tests in this Gold Cup, maybe not in the group stage phase, but definitely in the definitely in the knockout rounds, as we are getting pretty close now to the end of this one. And I think this might have been done. Yes, let me check. And yeah, it's gone final here in San Jose, as the U.S. men's national team will beat Trinidad and Tobago by a score of 5-0. And I want to thank everybody who has taken the time out today. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe buttons. And we have Shamu Vandevu, who says Botafogo versus Seattle Sounders in an hour and a half. Watching that one, Steve? No, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to be able to watch that one because I got to work tomorrow, man. So unfortunately, I got to be up at 3 a.m. For work, so I'm not going to be able to catch that one. But I do hope the Sounders actually put themselves in a good position to win that one. That's going to be a fun match. Let's see. The Trinidadian American dual citizens will win it. That's funny. Let's see. Yep, Tim Howard won it first, 2004 with Man United. Absolutely. Yeah, Matt Turner was also on Crystal Palace as well too. Conveniently, we leave out Matt Turner. Let's see. Shamu Vandavu says he was right about Auckland City. They said they would concede 6 to 10 goals. Yeah, they certainly did, didn't they? Let's see. One of the Cheltenham Cup, New Zealand FA Cup games ended 22-1. Jesus. Let's see. They were losing 1-0 at the half as well. Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. I'm having a nice time keeping up with Concacaf. Yeah, I'm glad you have. And we have the US. Yep, very good one. And then, of course, Eric P says the US passport team won. Hey, listen, man. We live in the age of the dual nationals, so it is what it is. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. That was absolutely great. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons because we are on a race to 1,000 subs. So, if you want to be a part of the live streams, man, this whole summer is going to be absolutely lit because not only are we covering the Gold Cup with the U.S. men's national team, but we're also covering the Club World Cup as well too. The next live stream for the Club World Cup is going to be on Thursday between Seattle and Atletico Madrid. So definitely tune in for that one. Next weekend, the Gold Cup resumes with the U.S. men's national team. As I believe they're going to be taking on, I got it right here, Saudi Arabia on Thursday. So there's going to be, ample opportunity for the live streams as well too. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and definitely share these as well too. Because let me tell you, man, for those that do want to subscribe to this channel, every single milestone we're giving away something awesome, I'll just say this, man. I like to take care of people that like to take care of me as well too. So there is some incentive for you to subscribe to this channel. So, all right, the U.S. men's national team beat Trinidad and Tobago 5-0 as this match has gone final. One of the things that I was very pleased to see is the fact that the United States stayed on the front foot for essentially 80 minutes of this game. Yes, there were a few times in the second half where Trinidad was able to get forward, but they were really unable to do much. And again, this is a tournament that the U.S. have to win. And make no mistake, I mean, since Pochettino has taken over this national team, that has been up and down, man. There's been some decent results, but then there's been a lot of bad results. And of course, a lot of people point to the Nations League as a prime example of this team not necessarily taking it seriously. And I can understand that. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's no World Cup qualifying. There's nothing necessarily to play for because, I think a bulk of these players understand that they're just going to be there anyway. And without having that carrot out there, without having that, that need to qualify means that a lot of these guys feel like maybe they can take it a little easy, knowing that it doesn't necessarily matter, and what matters is going to be the World Cup next summer. So from that standpoint, when you see this roster playing the Gold Cup, and when you see these type of results, and you see the press, and you see the intensity, and you see the technical ability, it makes you happy as a U.S. fan because at least you see a group of guys that are playing for the crest, that are playing together. And to me, I think it means the world. So let's go ahead and get into the stats in this one. As this ended up in possession, it ended up 70-30 USMNT. The XG was 3.61 to 0.23. Total shots was 21-3. Shots on target 11-2. US had all the big chances, 8-0. Accurate passes, 91% for the U.S., 537 to 196. Fouls committed, 10-9, and the U.S. won the corner battle, 9-4. Shots inside the box, 17 to Trinidad's 3. Shots blocked, 4-1 U.S. 4-1 USA. Shots out the box, it's 4-0 USA. And the passes. Total passes, 587 to 246. Passes in the opposition half, 244 to 55. Touches inside the box, 41 to 4. That's unbelievable. When you look at that, just how many touches the U.S. had in the opposition box. Tackles won, U.S. 13 to 10. Trinidad did win the interception battle 9-6. The clearances, obviously it was 21-14 Trinidad. They also won the save battle 6-2. That being said, because Trinidad really only made Matt Freese work twice. Total duels won, US 45, Trinidad 36. Ground duels 34-30. Aerial duels 11-6, and Trinidad did win the successful dribbles. But outside of that, all the stats will tell you that this was an absolute dominant win outside of the score sheet as well too. But the big thing for me is the fact that Malik Tillman bagged himself a brace. Haji Wright got on the score sheet. Same thing with Brendan Aronson. Guys that typically go a lot of matches in between goals. So it was nice to see all of those guys being able to get the ball in the back of the net, gain some confidence, because what's going to end up happening as this tournament progresses, man, being able to score late goals, man, and having the confidence and the ability to do so is going to pay huge dividends. So great way to start the Gold Cup here. And I think I'm gonna call it a night tonight. Again, coming up on stateside footy, we're going to have the Club World Cup return. The Club World Cup is going to return, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday. Let me double check it real quick. Ooh. And so it will return on Thursday. And the question is, can I do both? Yeah, we can do both. So we're going to have a double header on Thursday. Starting at 6:00, it's going to be Club World Cup, Seattle Sounders versus Atletico Madrid. And then at 9:00, it's going to be the U.S. men's national team versus Saudi Arabia. So it's going to be a doubleheader on Thursday. Club World Cup, Gold Cup, and it's going to be exciting. As everything progresses into the weekend, we're also going to be covering certain Club World Cup matches as well too. So there's a lot coming up when it comes to both of these tournaments, and of course, potential MLS live streams as well too. So there's a lot going on. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also on THFC TWD for all you Spurs fans out there. Tomorrow, Dermatron does return back in the captain's chair. So plenty of good things going on, not just here on Stateside Footy, but also on THFC TWD. So make sure you hit the like and subscribes to both. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Make sure you guys get to bed. Start the week perfectly, man. You guys take care.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our